Most of us wake up and immediately react, scroll the phone, relive yesterday's stress, or brace for today's chaos. But what if your morning words could steer your entire day? What if 60 seconds of intention could rewire your mindset and energy before the world even gets a chance to throw shade? Today, I'm sharing 5 powerful things to tell yourself every morning, because your day doesn't start with a to-do list. It starts with you. Let's talk about it. Most of us don't realize how noisy our minds are until we wake up and listen. The alarm goes off, and before our feet even hit the floor, we're already pulled in 5 directions. Emails waiting, notifications pinging, conversations we haven't even had yet playing in our head, and that noise. That chaos, it's not the world's fault. It's a lack of intention. See, your focus is a currency, and every morning you get to decide how you're going to spend it. So the first thing I tell myself when I wake up is simple, but powerful. I am in control of my focus. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about pretending things aren't stressful or hard. This is about reminding yourself that you don't have to absorb everything that's happening around you. You can observe it without letting it own you. You get to choose where your mental energy goes. That means if you're lying in bed thinking about yesterday's mistake or worrying about tomorrow's meeting, you have the right to pause and say, no, that's not where I'm putting my energy right now. You recenter, you recalibrate, you take back that space in your head. This one sentence can be a game changer, because when you start your day in control of your focus, you stop being emotionally hijacked by the world around you. You start responding instead of reacting. You stop giving your peace away to whatever's loudest. And look, this isn't about being perfect with it. You will get distracted. You will slip. You're human. But the goal isn't to stay locked into perfect focus all day. The goal is to notice when you've drifted and gently pull yourself back over and over again. That's the practice. Think about it like driving. If your hands are on the wheel, you can adjust, you can shift lanes, you can take a different route. But if you let go and just coast, your day starts driving you. People start steering your attitude. Headlines start steering your emotions. And before you know it, you're at the end of the day wondering how you even got there. So when you wake up, take a beat, just 60 seconds. You don't even have to get out of bed yet. Put your hand on your chest and say, I am in control of my focus. Let that be your reset button. Let it remind you that your attention is sacred real estate and not everyone gets to rent space there. This also means being honest about what steals your focus first thing in the morning. Is it your phone? Is it the news? Is it comparing yourself to someone else's highlight reel before you've even brushed your teeth? Because you can't guard your mind if you don't know what's been sneaking in. So take inventory and then decide intentionally what deserves your attention. Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's a moment of gratitude. Whatever centers you, do that first, because how you start is how you carry. Let me leave you with this. When you choose where your focus goes, you are also choosing how your day grows. You're saying, this is the energy I'm planting. These are the thoughts I'm feeding. And guess what? Whatever you feed grows. So feed clarity, feed calm, feed confidence, and let the rest fade to background noise, because you are in control of your focus and your focus determines your flow. There's this quiet pressure a lot of us carry, especially first thing in the morning. It shows up before coffee, before emails, before we even speak to anyone. And it sounds like this: I need to get everything done today. Or worse, if I don't accomplish something, I've failed. That's not just exhausting. It's untrue. So the second thing I tell myself every morning is something I had to learn the hard way. My worth isn't measured by productivity. I want you to sit with that for a second. Your value as a human being is not tied to how many things you check off a list today. It's not based on how fast you respond to messages, how many hours you put in, or how many people you impress. And yet we're living in a culture that praises burnout and calls it dedication. We've been sold this lie that business equals importance, that if we're not constantly grinding, we're falling behind. But the truth is, you can be incredibly productive and still feel empty if your sense of worth is tied only to what you do. Some of you woke up this morning already feeling behind, already feeling guilty because you didn't finish everything yesterday, or you think you're not doing enough today. That inner voice is relentless, right? It whispers, You should be doing more. But here's the thing, you are not a machine. You are a person. And people have limits. People have needs. People need rest. So when I remind myself that my worth isn't based on productivity, I'm not giving myself permission to be lazy. I'm giving myself permission to be human. Because if your only measure of success is how much you accomplish, you'll never feel like enough. You'll chase achievement after achievement, but the finish line will keep moving. There will always be more to do, more to prove, more to check off. That cycle doesn't stop until you stop and decide to detach your value from your output. And this shift, it changes the way you show up in your own life. You begin to ask better questions. Instead of, what did I produce today? You ask, how did I show up today? Did I move with kindness? Did I honor my priorities, not just my pressures? Did I make space for rest without guilt? That's the stuff that really matters. That's the stuff that fills you up in a way no to-do list ever could. Now, don't get me wrong, goals are good. Discipline is good. We need structure. We need effort. But they should serve you, not define you. There's a difference between working from a place of purpose and working from a place of pressure. One builds you, the other breaks you. And maybe today, your most productive act isn't answering every email or crushing your calendar. Maybe it's pausing long enough to remind yourself, I matter, even if I don't get it all done. That one reminder can take the edge off. It can quiet the voice that says you're only as good as what you produce. Because your presence, your intention, your ability to breathe and be grounded, that's valuable too. I've had days where I accomplished everything and still felt hollow. And I've had days where I did very little, but I felt present, centered, and connected. And those are the days I actually felt whole. You don't owe the world a performance every time you wake up. What you owe yourself is honesty, grace, and the courage to live from your values, not just your obligations. So before you jump into task mode, before you start measuring your worth by what gets crossed off today, I want you to pause and remind yourself, you are already enough because your worth doesn't live on your calendar. It lives in you. Some mornings you wake up and you already feel the weight of the day pressing down. Before you've even brushed your teeth, your mind is already running through everything that could go wrong. Conversations you're dreading, responsibilities that feel too big, moments where you're not sure you'll measure up. That pressure, it's real. But here's what I tell myself before the day can speak louder than my own voice of, I can handle what comes my way. I'm not saying that in some overconfident, invincible kind of way. I'm saying it from a grounded place, a place of quiet strength, because life doesn't ask us to be perfect. It asks us to show up. And the truth is, we don't need to have everything figured out to face the day. What we need is the belief that whatever does show up, we won't run from it. We'll meet it. You might not control the circumstances, but you always have influence over how you respond. That's the power we forget we have. And that's why this affirmation matters. When I tell myself, I can handle what comes my way, I'm not pretending the day will be easy. I'm reminding myself that I'm not fragile, even when I feel uncertain. There's this idea we carry sometimes that strength looks like having all the answers, having a plan, being unshakable. But I think real strength looks like flexibility. It looks like calm in the chaos. It looks like being honest enough to say, this is hard, and still showing up anyway. And let's be real. Some of us have been through things that would have broken other people. Some of us are still carrying things quietly that nobody knows about. The fact that you're still here, still showing up, still trying, that's proof. Proof that you can handle more than you think. You've got a track record of surviving 100% of your hardest days so far. Don't forget that. So when something unexpected happens today, when a curveball shows up, and it will breathe, pause. Don't let it own your story. Say to yourself, I can handle this, not because you know how it ends, but because you trust yourself to move through it one moment at a time. And here's something else I've learned. You don't have to handle it all's alone. We confuse strength with silence. We think asking for help makes us weak. But the truth is, there is so much courage in saying, I need a hand. There is strength in community. There is wisdom in not carrying everything by yourself. So maybe handling what comes your way today looks like setting a boundary. Maybe it looks like telling someone no without apologizing. Maybe it looks like showing up to that meeting even though anxiety is screaming at you. Or Maybe it looks like slowing down, taking a breath instead of pushing through when your body is begging for rest. Whatever it is, remind yourself you're built for this, not because you have to prove anything, but because you've got something deeper inside you, resilience. And it doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just a whisper that says, keep going. The more you repeat this to yourself, I can handle what comes my way, the more you'll start to believe it. Not as a wish, but as a fact. Because your life has already given you evidence. You've walked through storms. You've picked yourself back up. You've grown through things you never saw coming. That's not by accident. That's who you are. So whatever today holds, good, bad, or somewhere in between, meet it with steady hands. Meet it knowing that fear doesn't get the final say. Doubt doesn't drive your day, you do, because you can handle what comes your way. There's something we all do without even realizing it. We carry yesterday into today. We replay the mistakes. We dwell on the awkward moment in that conversation. We beat ourselves up for not doing enough, not being enough. And before the sun's even had a chance to rise, we've already dragged old weight into a new day. That's why one of the most powerful things I tell myself every morning is this today deserves a fresh mindset. It's easy to forget, but every morning is a reset button. It doesn't erase what happened yesterday, but it does give you a chance to respond differently. You can't change the past, but you don't have to relive it either. You don't have to let yesterday's emotions dictate today's mindset. Some people wake up and immediately start arguing with the past in their heads, going over what they should have said, thinking about how they should have handled it. That energy, those mental reruns, they're stealing space from what could be. Because when your mind is stuck on rewind, you miss what's right in front of you. Now, I get it. Some things are heavy. Some wounds from yesterday still hurt this morning. And I'm not saying you need to forget them or pretend they didn't happen. What I'm saying is don't let them lead. Let them be a lesson, not a label. There's a difference between reflecting and reliving. Reflection is when you look back to learn. Reliving is when you replay it so many times it paralyzes you. One helps you grow. The other keeps you stuck. So when I say today deserves a fresh mindset, I'm giving myself permission to look at today with new eyes, to ask what's possible today, what's different, what can I do with what I've got now, not what I wish I had, not who I wish I was, but right now in this moment. And that shift, it changes everything. Because when you give today a fresh mindset, you also give yourself a fresh start. You stop defining yourself by yesterday's version of you. You realize that growth isn't a one-time event. It's something you choose daily. We talk a lot about mindset like it's something fixed, like either you have a good one or you don't. But mindset is a choice. It's a practice. You don't have to wake up in the right mood to choose a mindset that moves you forward. You don't have to feel 100% to take a step in the right direction. And here's the thing, some mornings, you're not going to feel like it. Some mornings, the old doubts are going to creep back in. You're going to hear the voice that says, nothing's going to change. But that's exactly when this reminder matters most. Today is not yesterday. You are not the same person you were 24 hours ago. You've got new awareness, new chances, new strength, even if it's just a little. And that little is enough to shift your direction. So maybe today you try again. Maybe today you approach that problem with a new attitude. Maybe you forgive yourself a little faster. Maybe you offer grace before judgment. That's what a fresh mindset looks like. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's choosing to respond in a way that aligns with where you want to go, not where you've dollars being stuck. And yes, some days will test that mindset. That's part of the process. But if you keep showing up, keep resetting, keep choosing to bring your full self into today instead of dragging around yesterday's version of you, those small shifts start to build something powerful. Every morning is an invitation to lead yourself differently, to let go of what doesn't serve you and hold on to what does, to see the day not as something to survive, but something to shape. Because today deserves a fresh mindset, and so do you. We live in a world that celebrates the big wins, the big break, the overnight success. And if we're not careful, we start to believe that anything short of huge progress doesn't count, that if we're not making bold moves or hitting major milestones every day, we're somehow falling behind. But the truth is, Most of the progress that actually matters in life doesn't come in big, loud moments. It comes in quiet, consistent ones. That's why every morning I remind myself, small wins are still progress, because they are. And if you overlook them, you'll miss the very proof that you're moving forward. You'll miss the fact that showing up when you didn't feel like it, that's a win. Speaking kindly to yourself instead of criticizing, that's a win. Setting a boundary, drinking water, getting out of bed when everything in you wanted to stay under the covers. All wins. We're conditioned to think progress needs to be dramatic to be meaningful. But real growth, it's usually subtle. It's often unrecognizable until you look back and realize how far you've come. And by then, those small steps you took each day, the ones that didn't seem like much at the time, are what made the difference. We all want momentum, but we forget that momentum is built. It's not given. And it's built on moments just like these, when you decide to keep moving, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if no one else sees it or claps for it. There's something powerful about learning to celebrate small wins, not in a loud, boastful way, but in a quiet, grounded way. You're teaching yourself that your effort matters, that discipline matters, that showing up imperfectly still counts. And it's not just about motivation, it's about trusting the process. Because the things that are most worthwhile in life, healing, learning, building anything meaningful, they take time. They require patience. And if you only measure success by the big moments, you'll talk yourself out of staying in it when the days feel slow. Maybe today your win is sending the email you've been avoiding. Maybe it's holding your tongue when you usually react. Maybe it's just being present with someone you love. That may not make headlines, but it builds character. It builds strength. And over time, those small wins compound into real transformation. It's also about giving yourself credit without guilt, because some of us are so used to pushing, so used to expecting more, that we never pause to acknowledge what we did do. We downplay our efforts. We shrug off our steps. And the problem with that is when you never let yourself feel progress, you start to believe it's not happening. So pause. Look at the effort you're making, even if it's small. Acknowledge it. Celebrate it. Not because it's the finish line, but because it's a step in the right direction, and that matters. And I'll be honest, there are going to be days where the best you can do is not give up. Days where all you've got is a half step forward, or maybe just staying where you are without backsliding. And that's still progress, because progress isn't always about forward motion. It's also about not quitting when things are tough. When you start honoring your small wins, you shift your mindset. You stop waiting for perfection to feel proud. You stop needing validation from others to know you're doing enough. You start leading yourself with grace, not judgment. So as you go through your day, don't underestimate the power of one small decision, one healthy choice, one moment of self-respect. That's the stuff that rewrites your story. That's what builds resilience. That's what keeps you going when things get hard, because small wins are still progress. And the most meaningful change is often the quiet kind. There's a voice we all live with. It's the one that follows us through every moment, before we speak, after we make a decision, when we fail, when we succeed. And that voice, it's ours. Self-talk, the conversations we have with ourselves quietly and constantly. And most people never stop to notice how much power that voice really holds. That's why one of the most important things I tell myself every single morning is this: the voice I use with myself matters, because it does. More than we realize, that inner dialogue, the words you say when no one's listening, shapes the way you show up. It decides how you handle challenges, how you view yourself, and whether you lead your life from a place of confidence or self-doubt. If someone followed you around all day saying what you say to yourself, would you call that person a friend or a bully? That question is hard for a reason, because too often we speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to someone we care about. We criticize, we minimize, we pile on guilt. And somehow we convince ourselves that it's normal, that it's just being honest or realistic. But there's a difference between accountability and self-sabotage. One builds you, the other breaks you. Now, I'm not talking about fake positivity. I'm not saying you need to lie to yourself or pretend everything's okay when it's not. But there's a way to be honest and kind at the same time. You can hold yourself to a high standard without tearing yourself down. You can say, that wasn't my best, and still believe in your worth. That's what a healthy inner voice sounds like. And here's the thing. Your inner voice isn't just echoing your thoughts. It's shaping your beliefs. Every time you tell yourself, I always mess this up, or I'm just not good at this, or they're better than me, you're reinforcing a story, a limiting one. And the more you tell that story, the more you live in it. But the opposite is also true. When you start telling yourself things like, I'm learning, I can improve, I have value even when I fall short, you start building a different story. One with room for growth, room for grace, and room for real confidence to take root. And that's why this matters first thing in the morning. Because how you speak to yourself before the day begins sets the tone for how you'll carry yourself through it. If you wake up and feed yourself criticism, shame, and doubt, your whole day becomes a response to that weight. But if you wake up and choose a voice that's firm, but kind, grounded, but encouraging, your day shifts. Your mindset shifts. You lead with strength instead of fear. So pay attention to the voice. Interrupt it when it spirals. Speak up when it's tearing you down. You wouldn't let someone else stand in your room and insult you all day. So why let it happen in your own head? And here's what helps give that voice a direction. Don't wait for it to be reactive. Make it intentional. Start the day with words that align with who you want to be, not who you were yesterday, not who someone else thinks you are, but who you're becoming. Tell yourself the truth, but tell it with care. Say, I'm capable. Say, I'm allowed to grow. Say, even if today's hard, I've handled hard things before. These aren't just affirmations. They're reminders of reality. They're tools you carry with you when the day tries to push you off course. And over time, the more you choose a better voice, the more natural it becomes. You start catching yourself in the middle of a spiral and shifting course. You start noticing when the criticism kicks in and replacing it with perspective. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's maturity. That's leadership. You may not be able to control everything the day throws at you, but you can always choose how you speak to yourself in the middle of it, because the voice you use with yourself matters, and you're the one who gets to decide what it says. So when you wake up tomorrow and every morning after that, I want you to remember that you're not just getting ready for your day. You're setting the tone for it. You're setting the tone for you. And it doesn't start with your schedule, your inbox, or whatever's waiting on the other side of your phone screen. It starts with what you say to you. Tell yourself, I am in control of my focus. My worth isn't measured by productivity.